Let's be honest. Most anime fans completely misunderstand Frieren from Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, also known as Sousou no Frieren. And yes, I said it. If you think she's boring, emotionless, or overrated, this video is about to ruin that take. Because Frieren isn't a slow protagonist. She isn't bland. She isn't carried by vibes. She's one of the most psychologically layered characters modern anime has produced, and the reason people don't see it says more about anime culture than it does about her.
Before the party of heroes did. He unfortunately did not succeed and succumbed to a fatal injury from one of the 7 sages of destruction. Aura the Guillotine was one of the last few that survived after the Demon King's defeat. It felt like it was yesterday when Frieren told her to kill herself and humiliated Aura with her massive mana reserve. The explanation that Flamma said about Demon's inability to properly gauge a mage that's suppressing their mana was absolute cinema. The 7 Sages of Destruction were powerful subordinates of the Demon Lord. They were commanders that ruled territories across the Northern Plateau. The only member of the 7 that we've seen in the anime was Aura. The issue is that the 7 are supposed to be intimidating, but how can they be when someone like Frieren ends their short reign in a matter of minutes? It's like the narrative trying to prove that Jogo was powerful, but was clapped and burned by the 2 undisputed characters in their series. He was capable of killing off the remaining 3 sages. What the fuck? Frieren is a story that takes place after the exciting events that an adventurer could ever embark on. The hero of the South was someone I did not give a shit about until Frieren mentioned that he slayed 3 sages of destruction. The hero is a character that was probably mentioned throughout the first season, but we never visibly see him until a commemorative statue is shown in a town. The thing about Frieren is that it does an incredible job at creating presence. Although the hero of the South was a character that hardly had any screen time, I started to feel curious about it.
First, let's address the lazy criticism. Nothing happens in Frieren. Translation: no constant screaming, no power of friendship monologues every 5 minutes. No edgy trauma flashbacks every episode. We've been conditioned by battle-heavy shonen like Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, and spectacle-driven arcs in Attack on Titan to expect dopamine spikes every 10 seconds. Frieren is the opposite. It's a slow-burn meditation on grief, regret, and emotional maturity. The story begins after the Demon King is defeated. The adventure is over, the hype is done. What's left? Consequences. That's not boring. That's bold storytelling most anime wouldn't dare attempt.
His life after just a few lines used to describe him. In just a year's time, the hero of the South slayed the Demon King's frontline soldiers. He reached the Northern Territory as a final stand against Schlacht the Omniscient. Both the hero and the demon had future sight. They could both see many years into the future. It's safe to assume that they met each other's match, and the duel ended in a stalemate. In a matter of contest, I still believe that the hero of the South had more feats. He weakened the king's army and almost got to the king by himself, truly a force of nature. In a flashback, the hero appears in front of a younger Frieren. He wants her to aid him in his quest to defeat the Demon King. Of course, Frieren says no. I mean, the story would have been very different if she said yes. How different? I don't know, don't ask me. Ask this guy. There was a sudden intrigue that fostered Frieren to pinpoint the hero's ability. The hero informs Frieren of his future sight powers, and the fact that he's humanity's strongest hero. Whoa, that's a bold statement. The hero entrusted the young elf with his secret because he is aware of her species and their long-lasting lifespans. Plus, even if she did tell people and conflict stirred, most wouldn't be able to outlive her in battle.
Here's what people really miss. Frieren isn't emotionless. She's emotionally delayed. She's an elf who lives for centuries. Humans like Himmel are a blink in her lifespan. When Himmel dies, that's when it hits her. That's when she realizes she never truly understood him. And that regret becomes the core of the series. This isn't about action. It's about rediscovering humanity after you've already lost it. That's deeper than 90% of cold protagonist tropes people casually compare her to.
And in general, to Frieren, she thought that was extremely anticlimactic, even giving a half-assed good for you in response.
Okay. Maybe this one will interest you. So, my eyes spoke to me. Since I can see into the future, my eyes whispered something, cause they're the ones relaying me information.
What?
Not funny? Okay. I assume you know of the 7 Sages of Destruction, correct? A year from now, I'll be slayed by Schlacht, the Omniscient, and the rest of the 7 sages. It will be an epic duel, but I unfortunately will not achieve my goal. But you know, fun fact, I killed 3 of the 7 sages for you guys. Wow, you don't need to thank nor feel sorry for my impending doom, that I shall not avoid because I am Chad. Har har har.
The hero believes that Frieren was predestined to meet Himmel. If you take a look at her basket, along with the berries, she's also gathered white daisies. White daisies are a symbol of simplicity, purity, and new beginnings. This was when Himmel asked Frieren to join his party, which was a very subtle way of foreshadowing her new journey. Everything was set in stone. I think it's oddly refreshing for the hero of the South to accept where he stands. Despite being the strongest human in the world, he is very humble and full of integrity. All he asks of Frieren is to relay a message to Himmel. The story of the hero of the South spanned for 7 minutes, which crazy enough isn't even halfway through the episode. When Himmel received the news, he just knew that he couldn't let—
And let's talk about the "she has no personality" crowd. Wrong. Her personality is subtle. She's socially awkward. She hyperfixates on magic. She procrastinates. She oversleeps. She's quietly petty. She hoards grimoires like a gremlin. That's personality, just not loud personality. Modern anime discourse mistakes volume for depth. Frieren doesn't scream her growth. You have to pay attention. And honestly, a lot of viewers just don't.
Humanity's strongest hero down. Near the beginning of the episode, there was a puppet scene that visually described the hero of the South. Frieren's creative direction has taken a huge step this season. The ending is traditionally drawn by one artist, the softly painted background stills throughout the anime, and the visual references that add depth to the story. This puppet scene is by no means an exception. With how well the animation is consistently drawn throughout the show, the fact that the puppets were initially handcrafted is indistinct. Before production, studio director Geiichiro Saito decided to create the characters in a puppet theater and have them perform in real life. Basically, this shit is really cool, no lie. The latter half of the episode is apparently the less interesting part. Frieren enters another town, finds work, gathers supplies, yada yada yada. However, Frieren seems to be in a rush. The same elf that is completely okay with staying in a town for a couple of decades, sleeping away like there's always a next day, is asking the 2 humans in her party to make haste for time is of the essence. My ass. Frieren was trying to avoid Gadafdach. Previously, the party of heroes has helped his great-grandfather in retrieving their family heirloom, which was a sword stolen by a demon. Once again, the great-grandson requests that Frieren's party retrieve the stolen sword, and that Frieren herself will be compensated with a grimoire. Yay! I can see why this part of the episode isn't as appealing as the hero of the South, but it's definitely not dull. The party locates a town in ruin.
What really makes Frieren misunderstood is pacing. Today's anime algorithm rewards shock value and viral fight clips. Frieren rewards patience. It trusts the audience to sit with silence, to notice small gestures, to feel time passing. That's rare. And because it doesn't spoon-feed emotion, some viewers assume it lacks emotion entirely. That's not a flaw in the writing. That's a flaw in how we consume media in 2026.
As they walk around, the camera pans at a fresh, bloody pouch. There is something lurking here. A priest makes herself visible when Frieren asks if she's from the town. When I first saw this, I immediately knew what was up. This bitch was sketchy as hell. To Stark and Fern, it was not obvious. They almost fell for the bait when the priest requested that they mourn together. Frieren blasts the pile of dirt and reveals that the demon carrying the sword is in fact standing before them. What took me by surprise was not that the demon was able to trick Fern and Stark, but that Frieren was awfully patient with this demon. In Season 1, the demons that Frieren the Slayer come across have always lost in quick succession. The elf does not waste her breath in murdering these species. Hence the title Frieren the Slayer, which was given to her for killing the most amount of demons in history. Frieren herself knows best to never dance in conversation with the demon. That's how they're able to manipulate and kill humans. Without wasting another second, Frieren uses Zoltrak, but the demon leaps and does a downward strike. This is quick, but I think this scene is actually a tribute to Space Dev's angle drawing of Frieren. That is peak. The demon clashes toe-to-toe with Stark, using his upper body to vault and slash Frieren. Frieren ducks, both the slash and the sword slam, and continues to chain her Zoltrak. Fern steps in and puts up a defensive barrier, in which the demon pierces through, so Stark, on excellent timing, parries and kicks her in the abdomen. Frieren continues to send a barrage of Zoltrak to the demon's way, eventually decimating her and
So here's the hot take. Frieren isn't overrated. She's underanalyzed. She represents post-heroic storytelling in anime. She's what happens after the credits roll on the typical fantasy epic. And whether you love or hate her, ignoring the thematic depth of Frieren means ignoring one of the most mature character studies in modern anime and manga. If you still think she's boring, maybe the problem isn't Frieren. Maybe it's that we've forgotten how to appreciate quiet storytelling.